Why do you think the way you think? Most people live their life through other people's experiences. What do I mean by that? If you know someone that said, man, growing up, we came from nothing and we had nothing and we struggled, right? You start internalizing struggle when you never fully experienced struggle. And you have to ask yourself, like I remember doing this myself. I used to make comments about the struggling in my life. And I started to ask myself, well, hold on for a second. I always had a roof over my head. I never saw an eviction notice. I always had food on the stove. I always had clothes on my back. I might not have had the clothes I wanted, but I had clothes on my back. But you know what happens? We'll go through life and we're living through other people. So when other people say they struggled, you start looking at, well, I didn't get everything I wanted, so I struggled. And I never really struggled. I just didn't get what most other kids got. That was the luxuries. I didn't get the luxuries. I had the necessities. So I had to change that mindset. I was like, you know what? I'm living through somebody else's experience. That's not really my experience. And I see people that they can have an issue. They can have friends that have an issue with their parents, right? And then they'll start to create an experience with their own parents. They will create an experience with their loved ones, and they'll say, man, you didn't love me because you weren't there for me in this one moment. And then another person can say, well, hold on for a second. My parents didn't give me half the things they gave you. But you think in this way because you're internalizing someone else's struggle, someone else's pain, instead of appreciating and loving what you have and what you've been given. Or are you stuck in time? See, right now this is Black History Month. And there's a lot of people that are going to be talking about Black history and the struggles and the circumstances that people went through in the past. And you should study your history. You should understand the history that came before us. But what a lot of people will do, they'll internalize it and make it seem like that's their reality. No, that was the previous people's reality. This is a different environment, a different situation, a different culture. And you can try to twist and turn it whatever way you want to twist and turn it. But you don't have those same experiences. See, what I've learned is all the great people, all the people that's financially successful, or even people that's married, that's successfully married, have successful families, have successful businesses. Success comes in so many different ways. I want to make sure I make myself clear. Out of all those people, one thing you got to understand, they understand their history if they're successful in a certain area. That's what made them successful. So I study history. I study the people that come before me, right? And I learn, okay, what did they do in the past? What were their hiccups? And now I go to this generation and say, okay, the hiccups that they had back then, those are not hiccups now. So what I need to do is take a lot of what they had and take a lot of what this new generation has, twist it in a pot, and create my own recipe. The problem this day and age is there's not too many people creating their own recipe. You know why? Because you don't even think the way that you want to think. You're thinking the way somebody else is telling you to think. What do you think about life? What do you think about the world? What do you think about relationships? What do you think about life? What do you think about your goals, your dreams, your visions? Or are you like most people that's living through someone else? Because most people, they just live through their parents. That's what they do. Or they live through the close friendships. They live through those people. Instead of living for yourself, what do you want for your life? What do you want to have? Who do you want to become? Did your environment shape you? I'll give you an example. You can have people that can say, well, I grew up in a trailer park. So because of this environment I grew up in, I could never have nothing. And because of the people I'm around, because of the way they think, that's the way I have to think. Or, hey, I grew up in the projects. So because since everybody was grinding, that means the world is grinding. No. That's the experience that you had in the environment that you was in. Or it can go vice versa. You can live in a great neighborhood and say, hey, since I never had any issues in this great neighborhood, this is the way the world is. And the world is not that way. It's a mixture. It's a mixture. And you have to figure out that. That's why one environment can't shape you. You have to get in multiple environments. That's why one thing I always tell people, I say your entire life you've always been in one environment. Go to another environment. I promise you it'll change your thinking. It will change your thinking when you get in another environment. Most people, they never get in another environment though. They're always in the same environment. What do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. If you grow up in the hood, right? Like, I've lived in the hood or in between the hood, right? Now I live in the suburbs. There's two different mindsets, two different way of thinking, two different groups of people, right? So I had to adapt my thinking and say, okay, everyone's not that way. Everyone not that way. And I had to grow and adapt to these thinkings, this mindset. Because at the end of the day, I promise you this, you can live in an amazing neighborhood and bad things can happen. You can live in a bad neighborhood and good things can happen. But it all go down to what's your thinking and why do you think the way you think? Why do you think at the end of the day, if you see a young black man and he's not dressed in a suit, that, oh man, he might want problems? Why do you think that way? Why do you think because you see a person can see a white man and believe, hey man, a white man won't commit a crime? See, it go both ways. But you think this way because you've been programmed and conditioned to believe and think this way. Most people are conditioned and programmed to believe and think the way that they think. It's not natural. Because if you woke up, if I was able to bring you up in the world, right, and I never programmed you to think anything, you would be a free-spirited, a free-thinking person. But most people aren't. So you go up in an environment and your environment forces you to think a certain type of way. And most people, they're never going to think differently. You know why? Because most people are scared of change. See, if I grew up this one way, right? This one way of thinking, right? This safe. It's comfortable. There's no risks I got to take. But once I start to change my way of thinking, guess what starts to happen? I get criticized for it. And I'm seeing it in my life because I don't think traditionally. I don't quite think the way everybody else thinks. And because of that, a lot of times I can kind of rub people the wrong way. Because they've been programmed to believe and think that they're victims. And I don't think I'm a victim. You know what starts to happen? They start to look at me a certain way. Why? Because of their thinking. And I can't get upset because at one point in time, I thought that way. At one point in time, I thought the world didn't want to see me win. Until I got to a point where I had to ask myself, do the winners really pay attention to a person that's not winning? Like, seriously, just sit there and think about that for a second. Do you really believe someone that's winning in life is thinking about people that's not winning in life? No, they're all thinking about winning. They're thinking about winning. How can they win more? How can they become more successful? And how can they help their children and their grandchildren become successful? Why you think the way you think? Don't let the environment shape you. Don't let not being willing to change shape you. Because most people fear change. Most people, deep down inside, they question certain things. But they'll never go out on a limb because I don't want to make mama mad. I don't want to make pops mad. I don't want to make my brothers and my sisters mad. So guess what happened? You suppress how you really feel and what you think. To feel and think and believe the way that they believe. And I refuse to do that. I'm going to be me. I'm going to think the way I think. So when you sit there and ask me a certain question, I'm going to question it. When you sit there and say, man, they don't want to see a black man win, why? Whatever you say, I'm going to ask you, why? Why are you telling me that you don't believe that a black man can win? A lot of people, at the end of the day, most of their family, they say money is evil. You hear people say it all the time. Oh man, shoot, well, why you want to be rich? What's so important about that? Right? My question is this. Why shouldn't I want to be rich? See, when you ask that question, that makes people question you. Well. And see, what it really goes down to is this. The previous generation say to themselves, I wasn't able to become rich. So since I wasn't able to become rich because of whatever circumstance or situation, rather a situation that they didn't put themselves in, most of the time it's a situation that they put themselves in, you know what happened? They question the next generation. Well, why you want money? Why you want to live a better life? Why you want to live in the neighborhood? Why? That's what, and so what happened, they had the negative things. And then my question come back is, why not? Why shouldn't I live in that neighborhood? Why shouldn't I want to have the best job I can have? Why shouldn't I want to invest my money? Why shouldn't I want to become the best version of myself? Why shouldn't I want my children to go to the best school that they possibly can go to? Why not? Just think about that. Why not? You're asking me, why do I want that? I'm asking, why shouldn't I want that? Think about the way you think when it comes to even relationships. Why you think the way you think of relationships? A lot of times, a lot of women say, I saw my mama get taken advantage of by men. So because of that, I don't trust men. But hold on for a second. What's your personal experiences? Well, I had one bad relationship. So hold on for a second. You had one bad relationship and you choose to do that? Or they say, well, at the end of the day, I had 3 bad relationships. This is my question. Do you ever ask yourself, maybe I can be choosing the wrong people? See, my question is, why do you think the way you think as a man? You can sit there and have negative comments about women. This is my question you though, right? Why do you think the way you think? Well, I saw my dad get messed over by women. I saw my uncle get messed over by women. Okay. That's their experience. It's not your personal experience. Why do you think that way? What have you been through? Then they say, well, I chose a couple. Well, I was with 3 women, or I was with this one I married with 10 years and she cheated on me, did this and that, whatever, made baby with another man, whatever you want to come up with. This is my question, all right? But you chose that, right? Why won't you go back to the drawing board and say, what did I see in that person? Because I'm choosing the wrong individuals. See, thinking is powerful. Instead of just making yourself a victim. So it's easy to make yourself a victim. Instead of sitting there saying, what can I do better? See, I learned that when I see problems, when there's a problem in my life, right? Instead of always trying to blame everybody else, I say, hold on for a second. What could I have done differently? What mistake did I make? See, that's one thing that my pops taught me that I'm so appreciative of. He used to always say, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what could you have done differently? Because there's always something that you could have done differently. I don't care what you think. There's something you could have done differently. But my question is, why do you think the way you think? Was it encouraged for you to think and ask questions? I have nieces and nephews. I don't have a child yet. Not yet. Working on it, but not yet. This is my question though, right? I always have my niece and nephew and I ask them this simple question. I say, hey, ask me whatever question you want to ask. You know why? Because I don't want them to be programmed and conditioned just to think a certain way. Ask a question. Get my opinion. Once you get my opinion, ask other people. Ask them a question and ask them their opinion. And research, and then find out what you think is best for you. Not what I think best for you, what you think is best for you. That's the problem I see in this world. People don't question things. So when someone tells you something, you just go along with it. You just go along with it. I hear people say, hey man, you work hard. You work 40 hours. Buy what you want. My question is, why should I just buy what I want just because I work 40 hours? They look at me crazy. Well, you work hard, but hold on for a second, right? But if I was to save my money, right? Over time, I will accumulate more money. And now I can purchase what I want to purchase without even having to go into debt. Right? But my question is, why do you think that way? When they tell you buy if you want something, go get it, you should ask the question, why? Most of the time, what you're going to find out is they don't truly believe in themselves. They don't believe that if they have this a little money to the side and if they keep it and don't touch it, they don't believe they'll get more. See, that's the key. They don't think that, hey, I got let's say I got $2,000 here. If I don't spend this money, somehow it's going to disappear. Instead of saying, well, hold on, $2,000 here, right? That's wonderful. Let's get some more money saved up. So now I can purchase what I want. I was around someone one time and they were talking about cars. And I said, hey man, you can pay cash for a car and get the car you want. They looked at me crazy. You know why? Because that's the way they think. They've been programmed to believe and think that they can only have so much. But I'm going to ask you a question. How much money is in the world? Google it. How much money is in the world? There's no number. There's no number. You just saw how much money they printed up. So why do you think that way? Why do you think that there's only so much money that you can get? Why do you think that if you don't spend it, it's going to be gone? Why do you think that way? Once you start asking questions, your thought process changes. But as long as you stay in that child mindset, that mama said it, okay then, daddy said it, okay then, teacher said it's okay then, guess what happens? You're programmed to think the way you think. You're programmed to think the way you think. That's why when someone says they're educated, what is education? Is education a college degree? Is education a high school degree? Or is education you researching yourself the things that you want out of life? That's true education. Education is when you start asking the question, why did mama do what she did? Why did daddy do what he did? Why have I been doing what I've been doing the last 20 years? Why do I think the way I've been thinking the last 30 years? Why couldn't I do it a different way? What's stopping me? See, you got to ask questions to get to a point to think and understand why you think the way you think. Because until you get to that point to ask yourself, why do you think the way you think, you will always be lost on this planet. I think so many people use drugs for a reason, because they're confused and they don't know why. They don't know why they think the way they think. They don't know why things gotta be the way they are. Because one thing I always tell people is this: there's never only one option. I don't care what you tell me, there's never only one option in life at anything. If somebody tell me, hey man, you can only take this route to success, I'm always gonna say you're wrong. If you go to a bank and they say, hey man, we can only give you $2,000 for a loan, I'm gonna ask, why is it only $2,000? And when they answer that question, you sure that's all I can get? My thing is, let me go to 10 other banks and see what they can give me. And then if they all tell me $2,000, you know what I'm gonna say? Well, what can I do to get more? They're gonna say, okay, well, you might have to get your credit score higher. You might need to earn a little bit more money. Okay, then that's another option. That's another option. But we never ever question things. So you know what happened? Our thinking process never changes. There's a guy named Ty Killam. That's he does a lot of TikTok stuff. And he had this quote, he says, think it's not illegal yet. It's so intelligent. Ty Killam, he's also a rapper. He says all the time, he says, think it's not illegal yet. My question to you is, why do you think the way you think? My name is Sidney Combs, and I'm a young entrepreneur from Shreveport, Louisiana with $1 and a dream. I appreciate everyone for giving me the opportunity. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Thank you. I'm out.